Okay, 5. Hello, friends, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Kristen, but you can call me KWay. Today, we are diving into what I read in March. But before I do anything else, I have to put the disclaimer out there that there may be spoilers and unpopular or popular opinions, depending on which side of the argument you're on. So, if you're ready to dive into my March reads, 11 books in total, so grab yourself a glass of whatever beverage that brings you joy, get cozy, and let's get into it. So if you watched my last book video, it was my TBR video, and I was telling you what books I wanted to read in March and or were starting to read at the beginning of March. And so that brings me to I reread Quicksilver. Now I know I talked about this a lot in that video. I also talked about it in my previous video that had to do with my February reads and what I was planning on reading next. Quicksilver definitely is this book. I know I read a lot of comments about people having trouble getting into it or having to put it down because it's just not their cup of tea, which is fine. I mean, not every book is going to be everybody's cup of tea or whatnot. But Quicksilver, if you're a romantasy girly at heart, like me, and you're going to see a trend here that everything I've read this month is romantasy. But if you're a romantasy girly at heart, this is the most amazing romantasy I think I've ever read. It's so cohesive. There's a lot. There's the magic system, which is really easy to understand. You have the Quicksilver that is basically that's magic in its own right. You have Sayrus Fane, who's our protagonist. She is an alchemist, so she can conduct the Quicksilver to different weapons and such like that, and she talks to the Quicksilver and such. You have it's absolutely phenomenal, this whole book. The world building, oh my goodness, the world building was fantastic. I'm a very plot driven reader. I love when the plot drives the story. So this is very, very plot driven, and you don't get spice until I think the second half of the book and our man Kingfisher in here. He is, oh my god, he's phenomenal. I wish that I annotate. I usually don't, because he has so many great moments in this book, and it's absolutely phenomenal. I do want to say that I hope in the sequel or in any other book that is in this universe that Callie Hart gives Carrion an amazing love story, because Carrion deserves it. I said what I said. Carrion deserves it. So that was my first book of March. I read it for the second time. It was, of course, phenomenal. A lot of points that I was a little frustrated about the first time I read it, because for some reason I just didn't like the ending. I was so upset with how it ended that I was just like, well, I'm going to have to wait till the second one comes out to finally get over that. But when I reread this, it made a lot more sense the second time, because I took a lot longer to read it and to really digest what I was reading. So this book, 10 out of freaking 10, guys. Okay? Like, it's phenomenal. I think everyone who loves romantasy novels should read this one. So the second and third book that I read, second and third book that I read for March was One Dark Window and Two Twisted Crowns. I don't know where my Two Twisted Crowns went. I would have it here if I knew that. So I only have One Dark Window with me today. But I read both of them. They were fantastic. 10 out of 10 for me. I had been hearing a little bit about this from various book talkers. They were talking about how fantastic it is and that the magic system's really easy to understand and all these things. So I went and I decided to bite the bullet, because every time I read it, I was like, it says on the cover, Maiden Monster Martyr. And I was like, I don't know if I'm going to like this. And whenever I would read the back of it, I was just like, I don't know, it doesn't really seem like a story for me. But I heard it was romantasy, so I was like, you know what? Let's do it. And so I read it, and I loved it. Um, Raven Yu, he was like, he's fantastic. I mean, honestly, like you hear all these people, you hear all these like Quicksilver with Kingfisher and how grumpy he is, and then he becomes, this great guy. Or when I say great guy, he, is like, I don't know. I felt like Fisher was really moody throughout the whole thing, even after he was like, okay, my mom is right, she's here. But like Raven, he he fought the fake relationship with Elspeth, but then like develops real feelings for her, and she was like, I'm not, like, whatever, this is just whatever, but she obviously felt for him too, and they just and then he, oh my god, I just can't even, like, I feel like this was how a real relation kind of forms in the face of adversity. It was just, I don't know how to describe it. It was fantastic. And even throughout the second one, in Two Twisted Crowns, when Elspeth is basically overrun by the monsters, he's constantly making sure that she's okay and asking for her, and being that really kind, sweet person, while having to face this monster that has overtaken her, as well as you know set the wrongs right again for this kingdom. And it was phenomenal. It's fantastic, and I rate it a 10 out of 10. It is this whole duology. Honestly, this whole duology was absolutely phenomenal, and I recommended this to my mom, and hopefully she will read it, so she can tell me what she thinks. I think she'd actually like it. It's more like up her alley, I guess. But yeah, no, I recommend this to everyone. This book was absolutely fantastic. So yeah. So before I get into the last series of March, I want to bring you some exciting shop updates. I curate and create my designs to bring me joy and inspiration, and in turn, hopefully bring you joy and inspiration as well. Recently, someone commented on one of my videos about me using generative AI in my designs, and I don't personally, but these curated designs that I do purchase to be able, with a commercial license, to be able to sell products, they may, I can't say that they do or they don't, but it made me start thinking about, what if I made my own designs? Would it feel more personal? Would it connect you to me on more of that personal note? And would my customers love it more if they knew that it came from me? So I've set out to teach myself how to draw or trace. And now I am super excited to bring to you my hand-drawn design that I like to call the romantasy girly. So this design features a zodiac circle with a black dragon, mountain range, a butterfly, and a crescent moon with a serpent wrapped around it. If you can tell me what all of the 5 books I'm depicting in this image is in the comments below, as well as sign up for my newsletter. The link will be in the description below. You will win a special discount code for my shop for this design of 40% off of anything I sell with this design on it. That includes the glass can, tumbler, or the P&G itself. All right, let's get back into the books. So you probably guessed what series took over the end of March from that little design reveal I gave you guys. And yes, you are right. It is Zodiac Academy. So I read books 1 through 8, and what I have to say about the series, I have a lot to say about it, but that may be for a different video. What I have to say about it today is that this series is pain, it is anxiety, and it is crying from sadness and laughter, because let me tell you, there have been so many times that I am in the middle of reading. I was going in between audiobook and the Kindle versions, and I would have my earbuds in and I'd just be laughing so loud that my husband comes in the door and is like, "Are you okay?" Yeah. I laughed until I cried. There were moments where I was laughing so hard my eyes were closed and I couldn't open them from laughing. Sadness, there's so much in this, from war, from just their plight, their own like inner feelings. Everybody has like it feels like everybody has a point of view chapter. They're all just kind of trying to figure out everything, and everybody has a unique voice. These authors, oh my gosh, they pinned all of the different characters' voices. They literally just, they each had their own unique voice in the writing of their POV, and I was astounded by how fantastic, like no one sounded the same from each other. And I thought it was phenomenal. It was a phenomenal ride, honestly, and I'm super excited. I'm going to be reading the Ruthless Fae series probably later this year, just not currently. So I have other books on my TBR that really do need to be read. That has been put onto that TBR so that I can read it. But this series definitely was a 10 out of 10. I read 1 through 8. I just finished 9, so that's going to be on April. You know what I mean? And so this was a wild ride. I am going to give you my opinion on Tori and Darcy. That they are the true queens. Yes, they. Darcy and Orion's love story is my favorite. So if you're just starting out and you're like, the teacher? Yes, Darcy and Orion's love story is my favorite. Darius and Tori's love story isn't that great. I know a lot of people have talked about how Darius is so great and all that jazz, but I pair Orion above Darius in the terms of he's the first one to acknowledge that they were the true queens, and that his love for Darcy knows no bounds. So, and he wasn't afraid to love her, even when he didn't agree that she was the true queen. So there's that. And what was the other thing I wanted to say about this series? It annoyed me when Lionel got chapters, and Tori is whiny. That's a discussion for another day. So all 8 of those books I read, and it was fantastic. So great ride. 10/10, recommend anyone to at least read it once. But 1 through 9 was phenomenal, and I think anybody who's a romantasy girly should read it at least once. So So that will make 11 books that I read in March, and that equals to 28 books that I have read so far to my 100 book goal of 2025. If this video was right up your alley and you want to keep up with my reading journey, hit that like button down below and subscribe so you don't miss out on any more of my videos. I talk books, small business, and a lot of nonsense that you might actually enjoy. So, until then, happy reading. Bye, friends.